Think about a company that's been right in the middle of history, from World War II battlefields to the hippie movement of the 60s, and then, bam, one of the biggest corporate scandals ever. We're talking about Volkswagen, of course. This is the incredible story of an empire built from a really dark past that's now betting absolutely everything on an electric future.
Okay, so if you want to get a sense of just how massive Volkswagen is today, you have to start with a number. And what a number it is. This was their revenue in 2024. That figure makes it the largest car manufacturer on the planet. But, that number isn't just about selling one kind of car. Oh no, it's built on a foundation of some of the most legendary brands in the entire auto industry.
I mean, just look at this roster. You've got the raw, untamed power of a Lamborghini, the sheer luxury of a Bentley, the razor-sharp precision of a Porsche, even the workhorse toughness of a Scania truck. It is an absolute masterclass in managing brands. I mean, each of these companies feels totally unique, right? They have their own identity, but they all feed into that one colossal bottom line. They pretty much dominate roads and racetracks everywhere you look.
But to really get how this massive automotive empire was built, we've got to go way back, right back to the very beginning. And well, it's a story that starts in one of the darkest chapters of human history.
So, this is it. This is where the whole story kicks off. And it's not in some fancy boardroom. It's in the mind of a dictator. Adolf Hitler's vision was for a people's car, a Volkswagen. And that vision would eventually give birth to the iconic Beetle. But it also means the company's origins are forever tangled up with the Nazi regime that created it.
And the company's connection to the regime wasn't just an idea. It was very, very real. As the world plunged into war, that factory switched over to military production. And, get this, an estimated 15,000 people, many of them from concentration camps, were forced to work there as slave laborers. It's a brutal, horrifying reality that is baked into the company's history. You just can't erase that.
So after the war, the company's future was, well, it was hanging by a thread. The Allies actually offered the bomb-shattered factory to the British, but they famously passed on it. They dismissed the Beetle, with one report calling it ugly and basically a commercial dead end. What a colossal miscalculation, right? I mean, that one bad call ironically saved the company and would totally change the future of the entire car industry.
Okay, so from the actual rubble of war, Volkswagen would rise up to become this huge symbol of Germany's economic miracle. And this was the beginning of the company's absolutely relentless drive for global domination. This was a methodical campaign to build an empire.
Volkswagen's growth after the war was just fueled by one smart, strategic acquisition after another. Each new brand they snapped up added another piece to the puzzle. You get the mass market appeal with Seat and Škoda, and then you add the crazy, ultra-luxury of Bentley and Lamborghini. It really was a masterclass in building an empire, piece by piece.
All right, so by the 2010s, Volkswagen was on top of the world, the absolute peak of the automotive industry. Their reputation for that German engineering excellence, it seemed completely untouchable. But that carefully crafted image, it was about to get shattered by a scandal of truly epic proportions.
And look, this wasn't just a mistake or some small quality control issue. No, this was a deliberate, calculated, global fraud, and it was embedded in the software of 11 million vehicles. So the real question isn't just what they did, but how on earth did they get away with it for so long?
So the key to the whole thing was this sneaky piece of software, what we now know as a defeat device. And the code was really clever in a terrible way. It could actually tell when a car was being tested in a lab, and it would kick in all the pollution controls to pass with flying colors. But the second you were out on the open road, those controls were shut off. And the cars, they were spewing out harmful pollutants at up to 40 times the legal limit. It's just staggering.
So when the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency finally blew the whistle on this whole fraud in 2015, the consequences were, well, they were devastating. The company's stock just tanked, its CEO had to resign, and the fines and settlements have so far cost Volkswagen over $30 billion. This was a scandal that shook the company right to its very core.
You know, the Dieselgate scandal really was an existential crisis. It was a massive wake-up call for Volkswagen. They knew they had to change, and they had to change fast. And this was the beginning of a truly radical transformation, a huge, high-stakes bet on a completely new future.
So Volkswagen's response was basically to go all in on electric vehicles.
Think about it. The company whose entire reputation was built on the Beetle and the Golf, and then totally wrecked by its diesel engines, was now pouring billions and billions into a new electric platform, the MEB. It was this bold, incredibly expensive, and complete rejection of its diesel-powered past. And this, right here, this is the car that represents Volkswagen's electric future, the ID.3. This is the company's big attempt to create a new people's car for the 21st century. It's the vehicle they hope will be every bit as revolutionary as the original Beetle was, way back in the day.
But, and this is a huge but, this whole electric transformation is a high-wire act. The company is facing just immense financial pressure from every single direction. You've got this massive pre-existing corporate debt, you still have the lingering multi-billion-dollar costs from Dieselgate, and then, on top of all of that, a nearly $50 billion investment in EV batteries alone. That is a lot of pressure.
And if you look at the recent news, it has not been good. Not at all. We're talking falling sales, a collapse in profits, a major battery investment that's just gone bankrupt, and maybe the most worrying thing of all, Volkswagen is losing ground in its most important market, China. I mean, the company is facing a perfect storm of challenges, and it's all happening at the worst possible time.
So look, Volkswagen has reinvented itself before. They literally rose from the ashes of war to become a global icon. But the big question is, can they do it again? Can a company with such a complicated past, one defined by incredible triumphs but also terrible transgressions, really lead the way to a cleaner future? You know, the answer won't just decide the fate of Volkswagen, it could very well shape the future of the entire auto industry.